Actually, no. No. Michael resisted the urge to vomit. Oh! Hi everyone, my name is Bunniimxrie, and today we are back with Mushroom Oasis. If you haven't watched part 1, what? If you haven't watched part 1, you should go do that now because this is part 2. Yeah, Michael's been doing some strange stuff. He might got some type of mind control thing because he does it and we're like, yeah, we should stay. I don't know, but we need to find Noah and we need to go home. So let's see what's gonna happen. Let's hop into it. I almost lost everything. Anyways, question mark. So we fell asleep at Noah's. We fell asleep at Michael's house. A soft humming invaded my dreams, stirring me awake. I blinked my eyes open to unfamiliar surroundings, swaddled in a blanket that clearly wasn't mine. Where? Oh. I spotted the familiar figure of my host, seated on a stool in front of the fire, hands diffling, working on a green star bundle in his lap. His back was towards me, but I caught a glimpse of his fingers as the needle softly clicked between the yarn. He looked incredibly adept at using them, the rhythmic movement almost hypnotic, as the fibers would wound together into an intricate pattern. I slowly stirred into a sitting position, rubbing at my eyes. The movement quickly caught his attention, ear flicking in my direction before his eyes trained onto me. Just like last night, his pupils blew up as we made eye contact. His expression lit up the instant he saw me. Bunny, hey, I'm glad you're finally awake. You look so tired. I didn't want to disturb you until you've gotten enough rest. Good morning, Michael. Good morning, Bunny. Did you sleep well? I was still too groggy to answer his question, a yawn slipping out as I stretched. He smiled kindly, a soft chuckle under his breath. Like a baby, then. He pointed over his shoulder to the door beside the fireplace, tilting his head towards it. You can freshen up in the bathroom if you like, while I start making us some food. I'd have eaten breakfast by now, but I want you to join me while the food is so hot. How do eggs and toast sound? Sound delicious? Great. I'll see you in the kitchen then. He tucked away his knitting materials and set it aside. Oh, I also have a surprise for you after breakfast. It's not the most exciting surprise, but, just join me when you're ready. He ducked into the kitchen without another glance. Imagine I wasn't recording this entire time. I could hear his boots thud about the floorboards, cabinets opening and closing in succession in the kitchen. I suppose that's my cue. I rolled out of bed, leaving the warmth of Michael's blanket and trotting over to the door Michael pointed out. Oh, stepping inside, I didn't know what I was expecting when he said he had a bathroom, but it was surprisingly spacious. Everything looked like it was carved and polished out of wood. He seemed to have everything you find in a modern bathroom, a sink with a cabinet, a shower and a tub, and even a toilet. Curious, I crept over to the toilet in particular, inspecting it. There wasn't a tank like you expect, where the water would be stored. Instead, there was a compartment to the side full of sawdust and a scoop. What? Like a cat litter? Like cat? I expected it to have at least a bit of a smell, but surprisingly, it was odorless. There was even a roll of toilet paper on the side. It was a no flushing system, but it was hygienic. Michael must have done his research. Is he a cat? No. Walking over to the sink, I stared at the faucet before hesitantly twisting it. I jumped when I heard the rush of water pouring in, swirling in the basin before disappearing to who knows where. Wow. Why am I impressed by a damn functioning bathroom sink? I helped with the dishes last night. I already knew Michael had plumbing. Shaking my head, I finished freshening up and heading to the kitchen. Michael looked up as I entered, a steaming kettle in his hand with 2 empty mugs on the counter. It might have been the lighting, but he was taller than I remembered. Glancing to the table, I could see he already finished plating up our food. Where's my mouse? Oh. Oh, wow. You work fast. Mychael looked proud of himself. Can't have my guests stay on an empty stomach. Go on, have a seat. I'll join you in a moment. I returned his smile and sat down, stomach grumbling as I looked at our plates. Okay, that actually looks really good. Once again, Mychael was generous with the serving sizes. Fat slices of bread were toasted perfectly with crisp, buttered sides, bright red tomato slices, and crisp red salad peeking underneath the fluffy eggs. It looked amazingly tantalizing, the smell of savory herbs wafting into my nose. Waffing? Waffing? My mouth watered. Mychael set down a steaming mug beside me before settling into his own seat. Peeking above the rim, I could see small flowers floating about, tinting the water yellow. It faintly smelled of apples. I want some! I recognized the yellow dried pellets on tea packages I've seen before. Oh, chamomile? He nodded. I hope you like it. I'm sure I will. His smile widened, his tail swaying at the tip by his feet. He seemed more relaxed, showing his natural features this morning. Any trace of panic and hesitation from last night were gone, replaced by a lack of contentment. Mychael bit into his toast, and I followed suit. The food was as delicious as I expected. The chunk of toast I bit into was heavenly, the butter sweet on my tongue. The tomato and salad provided a nice crisp balance. Blech. And the eggs. Something about simple home-cooked food is just the best. Mychael was happy to eat in silence, occasionally looking up at me as I enjoyed my food. He smiled when our eyes met, his bottom pair narrowing into a happy squint. Oh right, he does have... I wonder if he'd be open to some questions. Hey. Wait, so he has these, but then he has one right underneath, and it has two pupils. Anyways, Do you mind if I ask? How did you learn to cook? How do you have plumbing in your house? What's it like? What's it like living in the woods? I still can't believe how cozy you've managed to make it, considering the whole middle of nowhere thing. It wasn't like this when I found it. No. By the way, that's my AC. What y'all hear? I heard it like shh. Anyways. No. It was a major fix her upper. So the cabin was abandoned. I never would have guessed. Yeah, I'm really happy I get to live somewhere. Permanent for once. It's not much, but it's home. What's it like? Peaceful. Quiet. I do like it a lot. The forest provides me with everything I need. And nobody bothers me for the way I look out here. His ears... Noah, what are you doing? Go. His ears twitched slightly. Sometimes you just happen to end up where it's most convenient for you and everyone else. The way he avoided my eyes as he said that gave me the impression there's something more to it. Like his home wasn't just out of convenience, but a fear of something else. Rejection, perhaps? Or something worse? Anyways, I don't really have anything else to say about it unless there's something specific you want to ask. He doesn't think about his answer much before beaming at me. What about you? I know you've told me a little bit about yourself, but what's it like being you? I scoffed, waving a hand. Please, I'm the least interesting person in this room, trust me. Oh, his eyes were shining in earnest. In earnest as he leaned forward. Tell me anyway. Oh, well, I told him about my life. At least the parts I was comfortable with sharing. Just like last night, his eyes didn't leave my face, occasionally darting about my features and interests. The direct oogling was making me nervous, but I suppose I was doing the exact same thing when it was his turn to talk. Eventually, I came to the topic of my job and the woes of living in modern capitalism. I am a bit jealous. You have the whole cottagecore aesthetic, practically perfect. His face morphed into a confused pout. Cottagecore? I explained it to him in my own words. Oh, you're saying you want to live the way I do? Out in the woods? I nodded without hesitation. I mean, I wouldn't mind showing you the ropes. His tone seemed strangely lidded? What do you mean? Never mind. Anyways, I don't get what the appeal is, but it's not easy either, you know. The forest provides, but it's up to me to make use of it. Starting out was... Oh... A dark look crossed over his face then, as if reliving a bitter memory. Rough. But I'm built for survival. I feel like asking him to elaborate would make things awkward. I decided to veer the topic into a different direction. Doesn't it get lonely? Sometimes, but I'm used to it. He smiled, his eyes lighting up. Besides, I have you at the moment, don't I? I never thought I'd enjoy having someone around. You must be really special. How did you learn to cook? Cottage pie is a pretty complicated recipe. I just wonder if anyone taught you how to cook. I'd be lucky if someone could teach me how to make boiled eggs, Firefly. But it was trial and error mostly. My early endeavors were, pretty much inedible. I picked up a thing or two about cooking though, so your taste buds aren't gonna fall victim to any nasty creations like in my early days at least. Speaking of, did you enjoy dinner last night? Of course I did. You're a really good cook, Michael. I'm glad. It probably wasn't obvious, but I'm really happy I got to cook for you. I don't get guests often, in case you couldn't tell. I should ask you to cook for me every day then. He grinned at my joke, looking pleased. I'd be happy to. I chuckled as I took another bite. So, what's your favorite thing to cook? He lit up at the question. Fried mushrooms? Fried mushrooms? Yeah, fried mushrooms? Yeah. There's plenty to find and it's easy to make. Huh. I do remember finding a patch of mushrooms yesterday. They smell pretty funky though. You remember that? What was that? Nothing. Anyways, mushrooms were the only thing I had for a while before figuring out I could eat other stuff like roots and veggies. Do you forage all your ingredients? Mostly. The times I figured out how to catch fish and hunt game were the best of my life, I'll tell you that. My first taste of meat? He did an awkward version of a chef's kiss, as if mimicking something he saw on television once. Mamma mia! Was he trying to say Mamma mia? He continued before I could even dwell on it for a second longer. But nothing beats what you humans are able to make. You guys go nuts with ingredients. Rice was a challenge. It's a precious ingredient since I have to actually get some from a store, but once I figured out how to make it nice and fluffy, I considered it a special treat. I did a double take. You go to the store? Yeah? Where else would I get it? I thought you would grow it yourself or something. He laughed as I flushed in embarrassment. It's flattering you think I'm even capable of something that impressive, but no. There's only so much the forest can provide. But what about money? We're talking about human currency, right? Otherwise, how would you even... Do you actually have a job? A thought occurred to me. Or did you steal it? He almost looked offended. Ugh. Do you take me for a criminal? No. But that would mean... Then how? Michael bit into his toast, his two eyes winking in mischief. I have my ways, Firefly. What's that supposed to mean? And then the last one. How do you have plumbing in your house? I know it's a silly question, but I can't stop thinking about it. Oh? You were wondering about that? The embarrassed look on my face was probably enough of an answer. Oh, well, it's nothing fascinating. It's just rainwater I got stored above the cabin. Just rainwater? He nodded. I detected a hint of pride as he continued. It's actually a recent installment, believe it or not. Granted, the project took a while, gathering materials, figuring out the tools, finding the right instruments. Instruments? Finding the right instruction manuals. Plus, I had to figure out where to store the water tank. And don't worry, I installed a filtration system so it's safe for us to use. I check in every few weeks to make sure nothing's contaminated. Yeah, like a dead cat? That sounded daunting, especially considering he lived all the way out here in the woods. You did all that on your own? I kinda had to. Anyways, it took a while, took a whole lot of collaborating and adjusting, but it really worked out. And now that I think about it, I'm glad you get to be comfortable here during your stay, too. Does that answer your question? Where'd you learn to do all that? He just said. He must have got it from somebody. Yeah. I'm starting to know a lot more about Mychael. He didn't directly say, but it felt like he was alone. He was lonelier than he was letting on. Not to mention how he managed to make a home for himself, all on his own. I had to wonder if he had anyone at all. Do you have any family around here? Family? Dude, you can't just jump into a conversation like that. You gotta take it slow. You gotta be like, can I ask you a personal question, you know? His expression turned solemn for a moment before he looks sheepish. Remind me how that works again? I get the concept based on some books I've read. I don't have what you call parents, if that's what you're asking. My mouth dropped open in shock. No parents? He shrugged and took another bite of his toast. Not that I recall. What? I did not. Did I press that? No. We were trying to ask, what's that like, living with so many people like you in such close proximity? Huh? That's how it works, right? You and the other humans living in one house. And you have this, Dina thing that makes you related. DNA. Related to the rest? That's what makes a family, right? Was he talking about DNA? His definition threw me off, but I had to answer somehow. Not just that. Family is... Ooh. People you're related to, like your mom and your dad and your sibling and relatives, people that you love and care about, who you love and care about you too. So I guess they are just people you live in close proximity to, whether by choice or not. The first one's obviously, but that's more of like the scientific way of being like, yeah, your mom is your mom, your dad is your dad, and you have siblings and you have cousins, aunts, blah, 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 blah. But then it's like, you also live with people who should care about you and vice versa. So we have this thing called found family. I'm gonna go with that. He seemed intrigued. Is that so? That does sound nice. Is there anyone that you love or care about? Of course I do. I have family. Yeah, I love my friends. Heck, I even called my cat my family. Ah, right. Obviously. And this is the same for all families? I bit my lip pondering the question. It would be naive to think that. A lot of families do love and take care of one another, but not everything's perfect. Sometimes that love can be misplaced, or taken advantage of, or even abused. Mychael looked thoughtful. So it starts with love? I've read some stories about that. Love, I mean. Though, certain feelings just don't make sense to me. At least from a reader's perspective. I guess you'd have to experience it for yourself to understand. He stared at me unblinking for a moment. Yeah, you might be right. I never considered that. Then again, who would bother loving a monster like me, huh? What? You're not a monster. I look like one, don't I? That's besides the point. Oh, wrong person. You're not denying it, though. I'm just saying, it's okay. You don't have to lie to me. So, family. Right. To be fair, everyone's definition of family could be different. What about you? What's your definition of family? Mychael looked surprised I asked him that question. I don't know. I've never had one, and I think your answer just confused me more. Well, if you ever figured it out, let me know. Mychael stared at the remaining crumbs on his plate before nodding, avoiding my gaze. Sure. We both fell quiet, the lull in conversation blanketing us in a comfortable silence. All this family talk, it reminded me of the reason why I'm out here in the first place. To look for my beloved cat, a sight I might not be able to see again. I couldn't help the sinking feeling in my chest, the growing pit in my stomach. I wish I wish with all my heart to fly to... I forgot. No, I forgot! In the land of heart, something like that. I wish I was able to find Noah. You would have loved him. Mychael opened his mouth to say something, but changed his mind. My voice warbled as a lump formed in my throat. Sorry. I just miss him so much. I kept thinking if I just went looking for him sooner, maybe I would have been able to find him by now. He was quick to speak up. You did your best, Firefly. No one else could have gone to the lengths that you did. You almost risked getting yourself... I'm sure wherever he is, he's doing okay. You really think so? I know so. His voice was laced with a confident assurance, despite the worried look on his face. I nodded with a quiet sniff. I hope so. He's just important to me is all. Mychael looked like he wanted to reach across the table from me, but sighed instead. Actually, no. Mychael, please tell me you... I'm sorry, Bunny. What you mean? I should tell you. No, bro! You don't... He changed the subject. Maybe I do have family now that I think about it. That was the surprise I mentioned before. Wait, really? He nodded. Are you done? Wait, are you done? I could take you to go meet them right now. What? I looked down at my plate. During the conversation, I didn't even realize I'd finished a meal. Yeah, I'm done. His movements were quick, stacking out our empty plates and mugs and setting them in the sink. He grasped my hand before I could say another word, pulling me up and heading outside with me in tow. Okay, as the door swung open, I could only see the forest ahead before he tugged me along as he rounded the side of the cabin. Whoa! Almost immediately, my peripherals were assaulted with greens on both sides. I figured he was the type to grow his own vegetables, but to see it in person as confirmation was a whole different thing. With Mychael leading the way, I only had a moment to take in the surrounding garden. He had marked the different plots with messy drawings on a small wooden sign jutting out of the dirt. Carrots, lettuce, potatoes. Yeah, I don't know that word. Of tomatoes and beans. I wouldn't have been able to do... I couldn't differentiate one plant to another without the signs. Ah! Even the chamomile from our tea just now grew abundant close by, the small buds swaying gently. I bumped into Mychael as he suddenly stopped, the man looking over his shoulder to beam at me. We reached what looked like a fenced-off area with a bit of netting stretched all around. He stepped aside, watching me as my eyes widened. Chickens! 3 fat, happy little hens strutted about like they owned the place. As he entered the gate, the hens swarmed over in an instant at Mychael's feet, circling him and pecking at his boots. Ladies, meet Bunny. Bunny, these are Mawar, Sansuya, and Primrose. Or, as I like to call them, Marmar and Sunny and Rosie. He ducked to pick one up, fluffing up his feathers as he smiled. Oh, her feathers. He gently scratched the hen's little head which I assume was Rosie. She practically melted at his pampering, eyes sliding shut. The other two flapped their wings in a huff and went about their business. Once more, Mychael leaned closer, beckoning me to pet Rosie. She was so soft. Rosie's the oldest. She doesn't lay eggs anymore, but I couldn't bring myself to, you know. So I brought her some friends. Marmar came first. Sunny's a more recent addition. What do you think? Do we make a good family? I laughed and nodded, watching as Rosie nuzzled into Michael's chest. I didn't expect chickens of all things. Were you expecting something else? I was expecting it to be someone else. Oh. No. When you look like me, people generally don't stick around. There's that negative self-talk again. You don't even look that bad. His eyes flicked to mine, a look of pleasant surprise crossing his face. You really think so? Yeah. You can't be that naive, Firefly. I need it. He let out a polite scuff as he scratched Rosie's head absently. You genuinely believe people wouldn't run away at the sight of me? Well, I didn't. His smile turned smug, the corner of his lips lifting just a bit. Of course you didn't. Because you couldn't. Shoot. He wasn't wrong. I was pretty much paralyzed in his bed when we first met. But I still don't think you look that bad. Is that so? Describe me then. What? You heard me. Look at me and describe what you see. For a second I thought he was being condescending, but looking at his eyes, all I could see was a bit of playfulness. He looked at me expectantly, eyes shining. You're tall. Go on. You have blonde hair. He gave an amused squint, his left ear twitching. What else? You have green skin and a tail. He chuckled, though there was no malice in it. But that's not all, is it? He definitely expected me to say it straight. Oh, fine. So you don't look human. So what? He hummed absently. As I was saying, animals generally don't care if you look like a monster. My heart twisted at his words. His passive nonchalance somehow makes it even worse. Michael, you're not a monster? A tug at my shoelace caught my attention. That must be Sunny. A light brown hen stood at my feet, her beady eyes shining. Sunny flapped her wings almost expectantly. Oh, I think she likes you. Go ahead, pick her up, gently, like how I did with Rosie. I hesitated, but slowly lowered myself to cup Sunny by her wings. I want to hold a chicken. Lifting her up, she was quick to nestle herself until she was comfortably tucked under my arms. I could feel her wings wiggling as she nuzzled into my side. So cute! Michael's gaze softened as I cooed at the chicken, mimicking her small clucks. So, did it help? Cheering you up, I mean? Oh. So that's what this was. Oop. A fuzzy feeling bloomed in my chest as he looked at me. Chicken in his arms and concern on his face. A little bit. Yeah. Only a little? I snickered, rolling my eyes. Okay, mister. A lot. That's more like it. His proud grin was infectious. I couldn't help smiling back. We spent a bit more time with the hens, petting them until they were satisfied. Michael even showed me the spot where they like to have their dust baths. Little chicken-shaped holes scattered about in the dry soil underneath the coop. Once the gals had enough of us, we refilled their water container before leaving. He left them some treats, procuring them straight out of his pockets before shutting the gate. The girls' excited chatter over the food faded as we made our way back inside his cabin. I sat by his bed as he crouched down by the fireplace. From the window I could see the sun outside was getting higher. It meant it might be close to the afternoon now. Hey, Michael? He looked at me from where he was stoking the fire. I rubbed my arms, unsure where to place my gaze. I think it's a good time for me to go now. My expression fell, but I caught myself quickly. he done his best to cheer me up. It would be inconsiderate towards him to leave him in a bad mood. I might have to accept that I'll never see Noah again. I think it's better if I focus on moving on. He was quiet for a moment, hands in his pockets. If you say so, but you don't have to leave just yet. We've still got plenty of daylight left, and there's some places I want to show you. Won't you come with me? I had to decide. Whoa. I promise I'll take you home right after. He took another step towards me. Please, Firefly. Whoa. I didn't want to say it, but he looked desperate. Okay. I'll go with you. He deleted my choices! The joy in his face was shining bright as a billboard. Great! Let me get our stuff. Dude, there's something wrong here. He disappeared into the kitchen, returning with my backpack in one hand and a satchel in the other. He passed it to me as he walked by towards the front door. Huh. I almost forgot I had this. Uh-oh. Ruffling through my bag, I found cat treats, Noah's collar, a broken compass, and my phone! The battery is dead, though. Still, that's one less thing to worry about. I checked through my bag once more, finding an empty water bottle. Uh-oh. Okay. He did do that fuzzy thing, and he told us that we passed out because of heat stroke and that we didn't bring water. But now, we looking in our bag, we have an empty water bottle. I frowned, distinctively remembering I forgot to pack water for my trip. Or at least, Mychael told me I did. Didn't I? You ready? Whoa! I looked up at Mychael, startling when I spotted the large crossbow in hand. He followed my gaze and shrugged. A bit with a nervous smile, like he'd been caught doing something he shouldn't be. He quickly strapped the weapon to his back and out of sight. Don't worry, I'm not going to use it unless necessary. I would hope not! He chuckled at my indignant tone. You think I'm going to let you out into the woods without guaranteeing your safety? I made a promise to get you home, so this is an extra precaution. You don't think it's a bit much? Better safe than sorry, Firefly. He did have a point. If anyone knew these was and the kind of danger it held, it'd be Mychael. I glanced over at him again, noticing he changed his oversized cardigan for something more outdoor appropriate. His eyes tracked mine, his shoulders stiffening as a tent spread across his face. So, shall we? He opened the door and waved me out. My cat! I stepped outside to glance around his front yard. The landscape wasn't anything special. It was actually left quite plain, just thick with trees and foliage. Only paths of dirt and flattened grass glued me in the routes Mychael would use as he comes and goes, webbing in all directions trailing to the front door. Come to think of it, anyone passing through would be able to spot Mychael's house if they squinted through the trees careful enough. I guess he was right. Nobody walked through this area in years. I heard a lock turn before Mychael joined me by my side. He smiled wide before tipping his hat in a direction, making sure I was behind him before he started walking. I was hesitant, but followed suit. Whoa. It was quiet as we traveled, save for the sounds of nature's calling out around us. The weather was bright and warm, the sun casting pretty rays through the gaps in the trees. I had to admit, enjoyable as it was, the bird calls and rustling of leaves as we walked somewhat brought bad memories. Yesterday was miserable. I was lost, tired, and hungry. There was a chance I wasn't going to make it out alive. I watched Mychael's back as he led the way, the man barely paying any mind to his surroundings. His ears would occasionally flick back in my direction, but overall, he seemed confident on where to go. Having Mychael as my guide was definitely a great assurance. It made me even more grateful he'd find me when he did. I sighed and shook off the negative feelings, keeping pace while appreciating the fresh air. I stepped up next to my companion, willing my voice to speak after plenty of silence. This is actually kind of nice. A good nature walk. I coughed into my fist, feeling embarrassed. I don't go outside as often as I should. Mychael smiled kindly. I'm glad I get to bring you then. Yeah, feels different when you know where you're going. Actually, where are we going? He sensed my nervousness and laughed. Don't worry, we're almost there. I looked up and saw it before he even pointed it out. Ooh. A clearing in the distance, the trees growing strangely sparse in that area. I held my breath as I noticed the grass slowly started to dot with flowers, delicate blooms swaying here and there in the breeze. As we got closer, Mychael watched me as my mouth dropped open, a knowing twinkle in his eyes. It was breathtaking. Okay, Edward. Edward from Twilight. Anyways, a secluded little meadow of flowers lit up by beams of light, making the scenery resemble a page from a forgotten fairy tale. Butterflies flitted about in pairs, their wings flickering and complementing the surreal yet enchanting ambience of the whole place. Mychael let me gawk some more before walking ahead, turning to face me before sitting down to relax on the grass. He slipped off his satchel and laid it on the grass by his side along with his crossbow. I blinked out of my stupor and approached him, spinning around to drink everything in before plopping myself down next to him. So, what do you think? Pretty, isn't it? Oh? Is this our dates? I nodded dumbly before finally glancing to face him, the man's gaze on me softening as our eyes met. A butterfly approached us rapidly, making me flinch on instinct. Dude, I don't trust him though, still. Where is Noah? Where's my cat? You know something. You were gonna tell me, then you flipped it on me, bro. It landed on his finger as he held it out, its wings flapping gently. He smiled at the dainty creature, a fond look in his eyes before he held it out towards me. Do you like butterflies, Bunny? I think they're okay. They're freaky looking up close. You know, the episode of SpongeBob?
I think something bad happened to Wormy.
He left his best friend Ribbon behind.
I think they're okay. Mychael nodded, rotating his finger to watch the creature flutter its wings. I think they're fascinating. They're, metamorphosis? He beamed, nodding excitingly. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong. Metamorphosis. My cheeks puffed and holding back a laugh. Mychael knew he fumbled, but grinned anyways. That word, he said. It's amazing to have that ability of being reborn into a different creature. The chance to look different. The chance to look beautiful. I scanned his face thoughtfully before pulling my knees to my chest. It kind of is. Wow. The sun was at its peak now, the air getting warmer as minutes passed. The leafy canopy over us provided enough cover for us to not overheat. Mychael picked a flower with his other hand and placed it in my palm, his tail looping loosely around us both as my cheeks darkened. He closed his eyes and leaned back further, the butterfly still resting on his hand. My ears caught a soft rumbling before I realized it was coming from his direction. I almost wanted to ask, but I didn't want to ruin the moment. Is he purring? My gaze dropped as I twirled the flower in my hand, holding the stem delicately. The gesture felt platonic, but also romantic. I wonder if Mychael was ever interested in relationships. He'd be alone most of his life. He'd probably get tired of my presence sooner or later. Before I can contemplate further, the butterfly on Mychael's finger took off, my gaze trailing after it as it left the sunlight and flew away into the woods. Which reminds me. Mychael? Don't get me wrong. This place is stunning. But is it okay if we go now? He was purring! He's a cat! A mushroom cat? What? He straightened from his relaxed slouch. Why? We just got here. I chewed on my lip, hesitating. I love it here, I do. But I want to go home, Michael. Michael studied my face. Buddy, do you want to leave me that badly? What? No! I need time to recover from losing Noah. I know it's silly and dramatic, but knowing he won't be there when I get home. I trailed off, another shot of guilt and regret filling my chest. I just need to get done with it. Done with. I feel a hand rubbing my back. Michael nodded slowly, looking me in the eyes. His smile was gentle. That's okay. I understand. Stop! But maybe this place can help with that. Dude! It's a nice spot to nap in, isn't it? I picked it out just for you. Why don't you go ahead and lie down? His words make you sway. A sudden bout of sleepiness weighing heavy over your eyelids. He was right. It is a nice spot to nap in. Why were you in such a hurry? You yawned, laying back to stretch on the grass. The warmth from the ground seeped through your clothes. What? Seeped through your clothes, lulling you into a sense of comfort and safety. There you go. Just spend time with me. Just a bit more. Please. Oh. Here's something I could show you. I'm tired of your games. I'm tired of your games. I'm tired of it. He reached into his satchel and pulled out a wooden box. It's called a kalimba. Oh, I don't care about your kalimba. I blinked slowly, clarity coming back as I shook my head to pay attention. The box fit neatly in his hands, Michael holding it as if he were typing on a phone. I could see it had a hole in the middle with thin strips of metal arranged in a triangular shape over it. What does it do? A proud smirk spread across his face. I'll show you. It's beautiful, but no, I'm upset. He began to pluck at the metallic prongs, a gentle ringing sound resonating with every flick of his thumbs. I couldn't recognize the song. He might have made it up himself. I closed my eyes, enjoying the tune. Michael gave a soft chuckle as he kept playing. Relax and listen, as long as you like, Firefly. Bro. A few minutes passed with Michael plucking away at the instrument, the two of us sunbathing like two cats on a Saturday afternoon. I must have dozed off, as the next thing I knew I felt a nudge on my shoulder. Comfy? He chuckled low when I refused to open my eyes. I mean, if you'd rather stay. Bro. My eyes shot open, my whole body jerking to sit up. Michael glanced at me, kalimba in his lap, and half a forget-me-not chain in his hands. What? I shook my head, slapping at my cheeks. I can't believe I fell asleep. I still need to... It's alright. He cut me off. His sigh was heavy. I was hoping... Never mind. He patted my shoulder, though his smile didn't reach his eyes. Thanks for being here with me. Maybe we can do this again sometime. If I ever see you again. Let's get you home. Dude! Dude! He rolled over to his feet and stood up, brushing off dirt and fixing his satchel. Come on. We gathered our things and set off into an unknown once more. Well, unknown to me, at least. Michael seemed to have a map of this place ingrained in his brain. You seem a bit sleepy still, so let's freshen up, okay? We walked a bit further away from the clearing, coming across a river. Compared to the rest of the path we walked, the area was shaded considerably with a thick canopy of leaves over us. The flowing water looked inviting as I kneeled down by the bank, Mychael idling close by. I dipped my hands in, eager to wash my face. Would y'all, if y'all was in the forest with somebody and you see a river, would y'all first thing to do is stick your hands into the river water and put it on your face? I think I may have, do a quick, wash my hands, but I don't think I'm gonna put it on my face. Yeah, I dipped my hands in, eager to wash my face. The water was refreshing and cooled my heated skin in the afternoon sun. I pulled my hands back to see Mychael peeking over my shoulder into my reflection, smiling with a faraway look on his face. He startled as our gazes met, irises darting away to look at himself instead. Immediately his expression changed. His ears flattened, a grimace twisting his features as his lips curled back. Oh, I'd never seen such contempt in his eyes as I did then, staring at his own visage. He really doesn't like the way he looks. He stepped away, retreating underneath the cover of a tree to lean against it with crossed arms. He doesn't notice me watching. I patted my hands dry on my shirt and approached him. You ready? Yeah. I stopped him before he could turn to leave. He looked at me with a questioning look, tipping his head. I hesitated. I wasn't the type to speak my mind directly. That sounds too much like me. Most of the time I'd keep things to myself and let things go by. But nobody should look at themselves and have that sort of reaction. Hey, you're not, I might as well be frank. You're not a monster, Mychael. He looked taken aback. What makes you say that? I saw how you were looking at yourself, how you talk about yourself. None of it's true. I keep telling you, you're more than just your appearance. I don't know what compelled me to do it, but I did it anyways. Oh! I reached for his hand and held them between us. His eyes widened at the contact. All it took was a day with you, and truthfully, I think you're the most amazing person I've ever met. He made a choked noise. I'm just some old nobody compared to you. That's not... Shut up and listen. He promptly shut his mouth with an audible click of his teeth. I don't know if y'all heard that. From where I stand, you saved my life. You've taken care of me better than I could ever ask for from a stranger. That already proves to me you're not the monster you think you are. You're charming, you're smart, you're sweet. You're a million more wonderful things, but you're not a monster. I took a second to compose myself, lowering my voice. You may look different, Mychael, but guess what? His multiple eyes stared into mine, ears flattening as if fearing the worst. That makes you all the more beautiful to me. His breath hitched. I could feel his hand squeezing mine, fingers trembling. It was like he forgot how to breathe. I realized my hands were getting sweaty. I pulled away hastily, scratching in my neck and avoiding his gaze. I could feel the blood rush in my face. I could duck my whole head in the river and it would probably let off steam. Sorry, that came out of nowhere. that was like so... It just didn't feel right if I didn't say anything. I hope you understand. An awkward silence passed between the two of us. Anyways, I caught him mumbling under his breath. I can't let you leave. What? I said, you can't leave. I mean, not without your cat, right? I frowned. I've already tried, Mychael. Like you said, it was stupid for me to wander off in the woods as if I'd find him through dumb luck. He paused, his fists clenching. But I haven't. Huh? I haven't tried. I know these woods better than anyone. I can try looking for them. But that means you can't leave yet. Mychael, I appreciate the offer, but I don't think I should stick around any longer. What is going on? I have a job and responsibilities and you hissed in pain. A sudden migraine overcoming your senses. You felt sick, your stomach rending itself into knots. It felt like the world was wrapping around you as your legs wobbled. Your body buckled as you resisted the urge to vomit. Oh! That's Mychael caught you as you slumped graciously to the ground, your head resting on his shoulder as he cradled you close. Hey, you don't look so good. Your vision doubled as he spoke, his speech oozing together words into an indecipherable mess. Are you okay? You need me to carry you home? Yes. Yes, please. Yes, please. Okay, no problem. Just hang in there. Hang on to me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You don't deserve this. If I could just one more day with you, I'd be the happiest man alive. Here we are. Let's get you tucked in. I should give you some clothes, especially since you'll be staying another night. You're okay with that, aren't you? We can't speak. Bro, he must have did it worse this time. Oh my god. I blink groggily, awake to the gentle sounds of a crackling fire. The itchy texture of worn bedsheets, the weight of a heavy knitted blanket. I can recall once or twice having felt these very sensations to the point I'd consider them familiar and comforting. And yet... Nothing could prepare me for the bright yellow eyes peering into mine. Ah! My knuckles hit him square in the face as Mychael yelped, nose crunching as the taller man stumbled back into a stool. He landed on his rear with the grace of a clumsy toddler on the floor. I sat up in a panic and immediately grimaced, landing back on the bed with an flop. It hit me in one fell swoop how my whole body was aching. Every single one of my limbs felt like they were going to throw ringer and came out the other side all crinkled and wrong. I groaned aloud, leaning my head back on the pillow. Mychael shifted back onto his feet, rubbing his nose. Bunny! His voice was an awkward croak before he cleared his throat. I'm glad you're awake. No, you're sus, buddy. No. How are you feeling? You tell me. Terrible. He visibly flinched. I'm sorry to hear that. He stepped closer to the bed, leaning over warily in case my hand dramatically whips out again in self-defense. With my hand settled on my lap, he deemed it safe enough to sit beside me. What happened, Mychael? You don't remember? I shook my head, wincing a bit as my head pounded. Not at all. Mychael hesitated. You, tripped and hit your head. I had to carry you home. His words almost slurred together as he fidgeted. My head? I slowly lifted my head to feel for bumps or bruises, but he hastily snatched my wrist. Don't worry about that. Here, have this. It'll help. Now what is this drink? Mychael gave me a familiar looking drink as he quickly pressed a cup into my hands. Sitting up with some effort to take a sip, I couldn't help the small sense of deja vu. The amount of times I woke up in his bed dazed and disoriented is almost uncomfortable now. At least the drink was helping, just like he promised. My body felt lighter as I finished. Mychael took the cup from me and set it aside before wringing his hands together with a nervousness I haven't seen in a while. So, I'm sorry this happened. I didn't mean for you to get hurt. I sighed and waved aside his worry with an embarrassed grumble. Wouldn't be the first time I tripped, if you could believe it. It's not your fault. He gave a soft chuckle, but it sounded guilty. I suppose you're right. It's just... His face looked like he had a million thoughts running through his head. I promised, didn't I? I said I was going to look out for you. I said I was going to keep you safe. Instead, I I made you hurt? His voice cracked. I'm so sorry. The sudden change in demeanor was startling, to say the least. You couldn't have predicted it was going to happen. And I'm fine, see? Oh, Firefly. I guess you're right. His expression carried a lingering doubt, but he quickly masked it with a small smile, his eyes dim. In that case, you'll be staying. The way he said it almost sounded like a decision that's already been made. Or a plea. What do you mean? His eyes darted aside. You agreed to let me find Noah, remember? Oh, wait. We agreed to let... Yeah. Did I say that? Yeah. So, you'll be staying a while longer, right? He didn't even let me get a word in. In fact, a feeling of uncertainty washed over me as if we'd had this conversation before. I don't think I could... Besides, what's the rush? It's already late, and you're in no condition to travel anyway. I blinked before glancing out of the window. Pitch black darkness greeted me as I realized he was right. Yet another uncanny feeling spread through my chest, shivers crawling down my spine. I don't know why, but something about this whole situation felt wrong. I feel like I'm forgetting something else. Mychael had a nervous look on his face. Maybe you hit your head harder than you thought? His words didn't sound confident. How long was I out? A couple hours, I think. You, really took a hit. It was that bad? My brows creased as I tried to recall today's events. But I don't remember tripping. There was a river. He's doing it! I remember you. And then... And then... Your memory must be fuzzy, and for good reason. After all... That's exactly how my stomach was sounding before, because I'm about to go eat, you know. My stomach rumbled, suddenly echoing in the quiet room. There was a heavy silence right after. Mychael was polite enough to hide his chuckle under a palm as I flushed. He seemed relieved. Well, looking for you, I've got dinner on the way. It should be ready soon. You're okay with soup, right? Soup? Soup sounds alright. My stomach growled once more, the pain of an empty gut making me wince a bit. My host noticed immediately. Oh, maybe we should get you food sooner than later. Do you feel okay enough to get up? I nodded with a grumble, swinging my legs over the side of the bed before noticing something was on my lap. Wait, what's this? Yeah, he's really serious on us staying. I unbundled the pile of thick fabric, realizing it was an oversized sweater with a pair of baggy sweatpants. A mushroom pattern. That's oddly cute. The material felt worn, but comfortable. A towel lay right next to them. Is this for me? Oh. I figured since you'll be staying another night, you'd want some fresh clothes. They might be a few sizes bigger. Or a lot. Sorry. He'd gotten shy for some reason. On the other hand, I didn't have to take a whiff at myself to know that I probably reek. I nodded again, giving him a small but grateful smile. They're fine, Mychael. Thank you. Yet another thing I had to owe him. I couldn't help feeling like I'm taking advantage of his kindness now. So, you know where the bathroom is? Take your time cleaning up. I'll be in the kitchen if you need anything. I'm really happy you're here. He stood there for a good few seconds, fidgeting with his hands as if he wanted to say more before finally heading to the kitchen. Okay. I'm going to leave this right here. I'm actually going to have dinner, and I'll pick this up in the next episode. If you like Mushroom Oasis, let me know in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!